everyone, so today's video is a little bit different, just something I wanted to talk about, an idea that I've been playing around with in my head that I thought I would share with all of you, see what your views are on it. So recently I had my April Fool's video where I argued for there being microtransactions in DCS. Thankfully most people did tell that that was a joke, some people didn't, but yep, that's absolutely fine. That's kind of the deal with April Fool's. But one thing that did occur to me that didn't make it into the cut was subscriptions. And that's because although it was quite an easy thing to think about, I'll get DCS as a kind of War Thunder premium model, the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Now, you may need to bear with me a little bit during this one, but I am serious about this. This is something I think could actually really help DCS. But rest assured, I am not talking about putting in a War Thunder type premium model where you get some kind of bonus or whatever to better planes, etc. No, that's definitely not what I'm talking about here. But instead, a way that I think could make DCS quite a lot more approachable for a lot more people while still giving the devs everything that they need to keep going and hopefully giving us a load of content. So yeah, I'm not talking about a War Thunder or other freemium game style premium account that DCS could do. Definitely don't think that would be a good idea, don't think it would work at all. Equally, I'm not talking about something that would be a new paywall on top of everything else. Instead, I got this idea by looking at how Paradox is handling things. So for those who don't know, Paradox are a publisher and developer of a huge range of grand strategy games, and they have a really interesting business model that I like. One of my favourite developers. I spent far too much time in various Paradox games. Really, really enjoyable. They're the kind of games where they're simulating an era of history down to insane amounts of detail. So whether that is the Crusading era, whether that is the Second World War, Victorian era, or sci-fi future, there are all sorts of games carrying these various aspects, all shared similar kind of theme, similar kind of style, that being a huge amount of detail that gets put in, and gameplay that takes a long time, to dozens of hours to finish a single playthrough. So yeah, very different from DCS, but their business model isn't too dissimilar from DCS. What Paradox do is they will release a new game and then they will continue to maintain that game for years and years to come. In order to do this, they put out various expansion packs, ones that come out, depending on the game, about every 6 months. There's normally a smaller pack followed by a bigger pack. These are paid expansions that you can optionally pick up, and each one is supported by a free expansion that comes with it, a free patch that everyone gets regardless if they pick up the new DLC. And I think this works really, really well. It means that these games get a lot of love, a lot of attention for a long time. They're not the kind of games that are dropped and then immediately they start working on a sequel. Instead, a huge amount of development goes into these things, and by the end of their development cycles, they're almost nothing like the game that originally came out. Stellaris here is a good example. The game came out 9 years ago, and yes, looking that up made me feel incredibly old. And it's just received its latest expansion pack. And even if you never bought any of the expansions, the core game is now massively updated. It's almost unrecognisable from the initial game put out. Certainly the theme is the same, the elements are broadly the same, but just about every single aspect has been built up from the ground up. The economy's been reworked and reworked, the way you manage planets has been reworked, huge amount more content and variety has been stuffed in, and all of that is without paying. And then on top of that, you get these optional little bonus packs which focus on one thing in particular. So for example, going over to one of their other major games, Hearts of Iron, quite a while back, 6 years ago now, looking at the Steam listing, Man the Guns was released, and this was released to massively update the naval combat in this World War II simulation. So the actual naval combat got updated for free for everyone, adding a completely new system of how it's handled, far more detail, far more feedback. And then optionally, if you wanted the Man the Guns expansion pack, you could pay 16 quid at the release time, and this gave you access to all sorts of other things, including the ability to design your own ships. And so for people who weren't worried about that, you just don't pick up the expansion pack. For people who are interested in that, it's a great little way to add on to everything else. So yeah, at this point you're probably wondering, why on earth am I going on about this? There's a completely different set of games, and yeah, there's some similarities, but why am I picking this up in particular? And that's because Paradox Games and DCS really have ended up having the same kind of issues. And that is that when Paradox Games have been out for a while, as I said, some of these have been out for well over a decade and are still getting expansions, the sheer number of those expansions becomes absolutely daunting. Now, this isn't a problem if you've been playing along since the launch of the game, because then as a new expansion comes up, you can look at the information, see if it's something you'd like, and decide whether it's something you're going to pick up, something you're going to wait for a sale, or something you're just going to avoid. The problem is, if you're picking up one of these games a little bit later down the line, or if you take a break and then come back, it can be absolutely terrifying to look at the list of DLC and try and get your head around what is important, what is not important. Time of recording, Hearts of Iron's been out for 9 years and has 22 DLCs listed on the Steam page, ranging from very, very little, minor little packs that just give you some additional sprites and graphic updates, to things that add huge new systems. And the problem is, if a new person is coming along, what happens is they see this massive list of DLC, see the summed price of everything together, and immediately get turned off by the whole idea. Even people who already have, say, the base game but haven't played in about half a decade and come back, there can be a real case of decision paralysis here. You've got a huge number of things to check out, you've got no idea what is worth your time, and the amount of effort it would take to research this is going to be really quite exhausting. And so that is where the Paradox subscription model came in. For many of their games, you can, instead of buying DLC, you can buy a subscription pack, which is a monthly paid subscription that gives you all of the DLC right up to the very latest ones that have come out. And that is absolutely fantastic. That means that it's very easy to catch back up. You can quickly see all of the new stuff, even if you've been out of it for a while. If you're buying in for the first time, you get kind of the full experience from the get-go, and all with a much, much lower initial fee. And yes, if you're going to be playing extensively for a very long amount of time, the subscription will eventually add up, and eventually there's going to be a point at which it would be worth it just to buy the DLC instead of continue with the subscription. But I know I've had a lot of use of this. I play Hearts of Iron kind of sporadically with some friends, and because of the sheer amount of expansions that come out, the way that we work this is whoever is hosting will just get the subscription, get all of the DLC, so whenever we're jumping back in, we know we're jumping back into the brand new full complete experience. And then when we stop playing, we just let the subscription lapse, and then no more cost after that. It's fine for people who have already bought the DLC modules because they still get to play and they don't have to worry about the subscription. It's then a bit more normal for them just to keep picking up the DLC as they come out. But it gives these newer people or lapsed players a good way of getting back in. So, bringing this back to DCS, I think this is really close to the situation that DCS is in. DCS is a game that has been seeing a lot of love for a very extensive amount of time. And the way that the DCS business model works is that they pay for continued development by releasing these various modules. And for people who have been long-time DCS players, that's absolutely fine to work with. When a new module comes out, you can have a look at it, see if you're interested, see if it's something you want to pick up straight away, or something you want to add to your list to pick up whenever it hits a sale, or if it's something you know you're not going to be interested in and you can just ignore it. But once again, the problem comes with either people have taken a break for the game for a very long time, or very much when new players approach the game for the first time, and they are all of a sudden confronted with this massive wall of modules. And at this point, this is really quite an outstanding list that we've got here. And I know a lot of people are in the situation they'd like to try DCS, but it is very hard to know where to start. And yes, you can absolutely trial modules, but that also in its own way puts a bit of pressure. I know some people who've been doing a lot of trials recently, and part of the issue is that you get this 2-week window once in a 6-month. And so you need to make sure you get the most out of that, so people feel they've got to arrange those trials at times that really they've got a lot of time on their hands. They don't want to waste the trial, so to speak. Then on top of that, you've got issues with things like, well, which campaign maps do I need? Where depending on what you want to do, what servers you want to play on, or what single-player experiences you want, there's a huge range of maps out there, all at varying prices, all at varying states of being completed. Again, it can be really, really daunting, and it's just a big hurdle. On top of that, I've already talked about the World War II hurdle of having the asset pack there, and by the sounds of it, we're going to be getting another asset pack for the Asia-Pacific campaign, which once again is going to be another upfront cost for something that people may not be 100% sure they want to invest all of that money and time in. So this is where I was thinking, maybe a subscription model is exactly what DCS needs. Now, I'm not saying get rid of the current buy for module option. That should absolutely stay. People who have bought modules should absolutely be able to keep those modules. Definitely not arguing against that. What I'm saying is people should have the option to pick up a subscription, and where that subscription then unlocks all modules throughout the entire DCS world experience. Everything is unlocked with one monthly payment. As long as you pay monthly, everything is unlocked. You cancel your monthly payment, you just drop back to whatever modules you yourself have purchased. Basically, somewhere in between buying the module and a trial. And honestly, I think that would be a win all around. For new players, well, it's now much less daunting. You can just say, okay, right, I'm going to put in the however much money it is for the first month, play a month and see if I like DCS. At that point, you can do anything. You can go on any server, fly any module, try anything that you want to, and you can get that nicely done. If you want to keep going, then you just continue the subscription. If you find there's only one module that you really like, or maybe a couple of maps that you want to get, then maybe cancel the subscription, pick up those modules in the next sale, and boom, you're started on your DCS journey. For players who have maybe played a bit and then lapsed for a while, now coming back to see all of these new modules and especially maps that are out, it might be pretty good for them to, pick up the subscription for, say, a month or two, and then just have this ability to just play all the new stuff, see what really works with them, not worried about trying to fit everything into a 2-month timeline, but just being able to do anything that they want. And then, yeah, maybe let it lapse a bit later and pick up individual modules. And yeah, I'm sure there'll be people who just want to stick with the subscription, who would just prefer to pay monthly, not worry about buying any modules at any point, and just whenever they're in a mood to play DCS, they make sure they've got the subscription, they can do everything there. If they're going to take a break from the game, they can let it go and then pick it up again later, nothing lost. And the nice thing is, even for those of us with large amounts of time and, let's face it, money invested in DCS, we're not losing anything here. Even though there is now this other option, even if we never take advantage of it, what it means is it's going to be bringing new people into the game. Importantly, new people with new modules. So we get more variety out there. Servers can be maybe a little bit more open with playing around with some of the lesser used maps. And anything that increases the number of players playing DCS, I think, is going to be a good thing. And finally, yes, we can't forget Eagle Dynamics is a company. They want to make money, fair enough. And what this would at least give them is a reliable source of income. That's why a lot of companies do subscriptions just in general, not just in the gaming space, but just in general, is it gives them a guaranteed, predictable monthly income, and then the sales and so on will give spikes and troughs in their regular sale. And of course, some people will leave the subscription on and forget about it, and so ED will get a little bit of money from that. That's just something that happens again with subscriptions. Now, when I've been thinking about this, there have been two major points that I've been stumbling with that have been making me hold back on doing this video, because the areas I really don't know the answer to. But, you know, it's fine, I think, to discuss this, to get some ideas out there, get discussion going, even if I don't have all of the answers. So the first thing that I'm not sure about is price point. Obviously, as players, we would like this as low as possible, so it's nice and cheap to pick up. Obviously, as the developers, ED would like this as much as possible, as long as people are still going to pick it up. There will be some kind of balancing point there, I'm sure, where it is beneficial for ED to be running this. It's beneficial for some players to be picking it up, but still in the long run, it would be better for players to just outright buy the modules. As for exactly what that value is, I really don't know. I'd estimate somewhere between the normal subscription package price of between $5 and $20, but who knows? It really needs someone who is actually knowledgeable about ED's finances, and ideally someone with a degree in finances to make those kind of judgments. So I'm not proposing a value here. The other thing that I'm really not sure about is how this will work with third-party modules, because DCS is really benefiting from the third-party modules. Now, obviously, there's currently the Razbam situation that has been taken off the ED store, and so I would assume that that would not be accessible through this. But even for those other third-party module makers, currently they get their money from a percentage of the sale made from the ED store. Well, if people are buying a subscription, then who do you give the money to? I think there certainly is ways of working around this. There could be, say, flat share rates, or you could use things like the number of people who are installing a module. I'm sure ED is tracking exactly who's installing and playing which modules, so they could maybe use those analytics to vary the percentage fees that various companies get. All of that would, of course, require new contracts and all sorts of nonsense, so it is not an easy thing to deal with. And like the example from before with Paradox, they only have to worry about themselves. They develop and publish the games themselves. They are answering to themselves. ED has a much more complicated ecosystem, and so that is going to be something else that they're going to have to try and navigate around. But yeah, that is my thoughts on this. Just something that's been tinkering around in my head for a while that I thought I'd share, thought I'd see if I can get a bit of a discussion going, see if it's worthwhile. Please do let me know what you thought. If you think this is an absolutely terrible idea, by all means, let me know. Equally, if you think it's a great idea, let me know. Let me know what addresses you would have to the various problems. So, for example, what price points you think would be reasonable. Equally, if you can think of how on earth they can handle the third-party module maker aspect of things, yeah, do let me know about that. But really, this is just something that I think would be a good way at making the game a little bit more accessible to new players, bring in some new folk into the game, increase numbers, everything wins from there. Anyway, next videos will be back to normal kind of schedule, so I hope I'll catch you there for something, and until then, remember to be kind to yourselves and everyone else. Cheers.